We are live. You're looking live. We're about to start the roster look over. We have a great game here. Welcome back to 2KU Saturdays. We are on week 11 right now in the home stretch of the season. This is the last month. We have another 2 weeks of play. And then we have the conference championships, Army-Navy game. And then we're in bowl season. So, grab the controller. We've got a good one lined up for you tonight here. Number 4, LSU, heading to Atlanta to take on the number 8, Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. We saw LSU on Monday during the Halloween stream. They had a close but confident win over Ole Miss. This is the first time we're looking at Georgia Tech, though. LSU's roster still remains the same. Rashad Robinson, starting quarterback, an amazing year for the redshirt senior from Atlanta. He's in his hometown. He'll be taking on the Jackets here. Running back Jesse Crawford was also in the Heisman run. Speaking of, don't forget to tune in on tomorrow's stream, 2KU Weekly, where this time we will be revealing the Heisman finalists. We'll be revealing the Heisman finalists as well as finalists for some other awards. Don't miss it. Jesse Crawford from Gardere, Louisiana. James Collins from Shenandoah, Louisiana. Casey Russ from River Ridge. The fullback is Dan Gaither from Winder, Georgia. The main wide receiver is Jay Mitchell from Shreveport, Louisiana. Wesley Kelly is another receiver out of Lake Charles. Richard Perry from Apopka, Florida. Derek Briggs from Carencro, Louisiana. The tight end is Dwight Carlson, the freshman from Kenner, Louisiana. The junior, Demetrius Scott, All-American from La Rose, Louisiana. The left guard is Brian Dawson from Patterson, Louisiana, redshirt sophomore. At center is David Williams from Marydale. Redshirt senior at right guard from Cahaba Heights, Alabama. That would be Ray Lane. And on right tackle, wrapping up the offense, is Roger Smith from North Druid Hills, Georgia. Let me get chat up. Y'all get chat up. I'll plug it in. We'll move on to the defensive side of the ball for LSU. Left end, Chris Richards, a junior from Berwick, Louisiana. The right end is Josh Wright, a freshman from Fairview, Tennessee. The junior, Clinton Mosley, is the lead defensive tackle from Wagaman, Louisiana, joined by Zach Ralph, redshirt junior from Kings Point, Florida. And Justin White, a redshirt sophomore from Lacombe, LA, Louisiana. Linebacker, Matt Hines, a sophomore from Tarrant, Alabama. Then a linebacker, Chris Henry from Covington, Louisiana. And right outside linebacker is Derek Britt, a redshirt senior from New Roads, Louisiana, and probably the face of this LSU defense. At cornerback is Justin McLaughlin, sophomore from Kingwood, Texas, along with Eddie Bain, redshirt sophomore from Morton, Mississippi, and Jamal Hayes, a freshman from Franklinton, Louisiana. So look out for Darrell Young, redshirt freshman from Winfield, LA. The free safety is Brandon Anderson, a junior from West Monroe. At strong safety from Socorro, Texas, is redshirt senior Marcus Lloyd. The kicker, Broderick Palmer, from Cedar Hill, Texas, is a junior. The punter, redshirt sophomore Julian Kirkpatrick from West Monroe. We'll move on now to Georgia Tech. LSU, the higher-ranked team here. They're the number 4. Georgia Tech is the number 8. Though Georgia Tech seems to be the better team on paper. But can they defend their hometown? Maurice Russ, the redshirt sophomore from Mebane, North Carolina. The halfback is Trey Justice, a redshirt junior from Monroe, Georgia. He is also in the Heisman running. Georgia Tech running the option offense. They'll have a lot of stuff to do with that. Also, watch out for Albert Thompson, redshirt senior from Lilburn, Georgia, and Braylon Thurman, a redshirt sophomore from Douglas, Georgia. The fullback, an All-American fullback, Carl Thomas from Burton, South Carolina. He's a redshirt senior. Also, look out for Mark Bowling from Bainbridge, Georgia. At wideout, Antonio Lawson is the big name, the sophomore from South Augusta, Georgia. Marco Bennett from Monroe, Georgia. From Tucker, Georgia is Max Bonner. And from Roswell, Georgia is Brian House. The tight end is Matt Mackey, a redshirt junior from Tucker, Georgia. On the O-line, you have Country Club Estates, Georgia, redshirt senior Andrew Rooney. From Goodlettsville, Tennessee, the junior Quentin Hackett's at left guard. At center, you have Patrick Barnett, a redshirt senior from Tifton, Georgia. At right guard, Drew Gary, a redshirt junior from Statesboro, Georgia. And from right tackle at Martin, Tennessee, the redshirt senior, Steve Kirkpatrick. On the defense, left end, redshirt senior from Cedartown, Georgia, Brandon Wade. At right end, Daniel Gates, a redshirt junior from Riverdale, Georgia. On defensive tackle, DJ Long, a redshirt freshman from Atlanta. And Lewis Sanders, a sophomore from Albany, Georgia. At middle linebacker is Daryl McNeil, a senior from Washington, D.C. The middle linebacker is Alex Stevenson, a redshirt sophomore from Americus, Georgia. At right outside linebacker is Deron Brandt, a redshirt senior from Albany, Georgia. On the secondary, Gerald Wilson, a senior from Washington, D.C. Ryan Abrams, a junior from Albertville, Alabama. Terry Morse, a sophomore from Perry, Georgia. And Paul Anderson, a redshirt sophomore from Dock Junction, Georgia. At free safety is Demetrius Davis, a redshirt senior from Conyers, Georgia. At strong safety from Union City, Georgia, redshirt junior Rick Rogers. At kicker is number 49 from Panthersville, Georgia, the freshman Travis Carpenter. And the punter, a sophomore from Glenvar Heights, Florida, John McNair. That wraps up the offensive summaries here, or the roster summaries. Now we just gotta get the teams out. As previously mentioned, we did see LSU play before. Georgia Tech surprisingly has a lot of options. We're going to go with this. Georgia Tech doesn't have a lot of great options in this game, but... And LSU you can leave as is. Let me go let the server know. We can move on. Server has the knowledge. Not that cool out there, but I'll actually let fate decide how much wind there is. Oh, we're going to have a good amount of wind then. I'm going to skip the snow because there's not really snow in the south, or at least in Atlanta. But we're going to randomize until we get something. A little light rain and some moderate wind will be the backdrop for this game between LSU and Georgia Tech. LSU played a very rainy game against Ole Miss, if you remember the Halloween stream. That's not what I wanted. All right. Yeah, light rain, moderate wind, 6 p.m., 67 degrees. That seems moderate. Let's get the game going. It's game day! How did your Knights do, by the way, Danny? Or are they still playing? We just had a bit of news land in our laps about the coaching carousel. North Carolina State head coach. North Carolina State head coach. Let me actually pull it up. A bit of a thing. Scott Finch, the head coach of North Carolina State and 2KU, has just been fired just hours after their game against Duke. The offensive coordinator, Tommy Moore, will step in to take his place. We had some other firings throughout the power conferences as well. A few weeks prior, of course, Arkansas and Boston College announced that they would be letting go of their head coaches. As for any other headlines you want to talk about, Danny, go ahead. There's the Ramblin' Wreck. I got to turn the volume up, actually. Georgia Tech and LSU in the rain here. What a turnaround job here at Georgia Tech. From a disappointing 8-5 season to now on the cusp of an SEC championship and maybe even a national championship. But LSU is also taking a big step in potentially playing for a natty. These two teams, if all predictions go to plan, will face each other again, still in Atlanta, but this time they will be playing for the SEC championship. McNair will kick us off. LSU will have the first possession in this game, and we're underway. Ignore the ACC logos. This is an SEC conference matchup. So 27. We got some big upsets. Georgia, with a loss to Auburn, means that this game will likely happen a second time. Also, another big upset. Number 3, Virginia Tech, falling to Maryland. Here's a 3-yard rush from Jesse Crawford. Houston now controls their own destiny in the Conference USA West after beating Memphis a few weeks prior and now with a win over Southern Miss. What that also means, if Houston picks up a loss, that Southern Miss and Memphis game becomes a lot bigger. Here's a 5-wide set for LSU. Throwing this one over the middle. It's caught to about the 45. Wesley Kelly with a 16-yard gain. You've got the defense right where you want them. Illinois, with Michigan's win over Indiana, they are bound for Indianapolis. Oh, pressure coming. He'll get this one off, and it'll be enough for a first down and more down to the 40-yard line. You've got to play with that kind of purpose to move the ball against this defense. Another team clinching will be Wyoming with a win over BYU. They're headed to the Mountain West Championship to play the winner of Boise State and TCU in a couple of weeks. Throwing this one, Robinson finds a man for another first down. Richard Perry with an 11-yard gain. Oh, yeah, we got a lot of games in 2KU, don't we, Danny?
From the 28-yard line. First down.
Looking over the field, finds a man. It's Jay Mitchell for 9 yards. 2nd and 1. And in no time at all, LSU's in the Georgia Tech red zone. And there's a run for Crawford inside the 5. I know for one we have Boise State TCU. Uh-oh. That's not good. Oh, no. Jesse Crawford, one of the main offensive weapons for LSU. And that might be him out with an injury. But there's the handoff to James Collins for a touchdown, LSU. Just slips in there for the 2-yard gain and the touchdown. And 8 plays, 70 yards in just a minute and change.
72-yard drive, and they put up 7 points.
And they'll kick it off. As Tech will get it from their own goal line. To about the 24. Braylon Thurman on the return.
So here comes the offense taking the field.
We're still waiting on the update for Crawford. We have UConn, UMass, Southern Miss, Memphis, and Vautech Clemson. On the option play, here's the running back Albert Thompson for 2 yards. Not the main back for this team. That would be number 10, Trey Justice, who is likely in the Hall, or not the Hall of Fame, the Heisman running. Option play. That'll get about 2. Maurice Russ is a name also mentioned in those same conversations. Tech very unique in running the option in the SEC. They will throw it occasionally, as there's Marco Bennett as he gets flattened, but it's enough for the first. Georgia Tech, as you may remember, had a very disappointing performance in the Music City Bowl last year, in which they decided to completely rejuvenate their program. It's fumbled, picked up by LSU. That's the kind of thing that happened in that game. They were heavily favored against a Miami team. As Maurice Russ fumbles the ball, and it's picked up by LSU, and they have prime chance to score again. On the option themselves, Crawford is back in the game. Pushed out of bounds.
They pick up 7 or 8 yards on the option. It's 2nd down, and they're about 2 yards away from the sticks. LSU is up a score.
Robinson with time to throw. He'll throw it to the right side. Caught. First down. Dan Gaither with a 3-yard gain. These are the top 2 offensive teams in the conference. LSU is number 1. Georgia Tech is number 2. Keeper for the quarterback. They'll get nothing. Daron Brandt with the tackle.
2nd down and 10 to go. Ball in the 23.
I didn't know to call him Darren or Daron. I'll call him Daron. 5 wide for Robinson. Pressure, he'll throw it. Caught. It'll be a gain of 2. Brian Neal with the reception. That looked like a surefire sack, but he was able to get it off and find a man for about 2 or 3 yards. LSU's only had to convert 1 third down this game. They're 1 for 1 on it. As there's a man, and he got it. Inside the 5. And there's another 3rd down conversion for the Tigers. Robinson's 8 for 8 so far in this game, and there's an injury.
Seriously injured on that play.
That's Mitchell, I believe. Jim Mitchell.
looking at first and goal.
LSU's number one defense. Georgia Tech is 7th in the conference. A handoff to Crawford. Stuffed. They'll get a yard. They're in goal line formation at about the 2-yard line. Handoff to the fullback, Dan Gaither, and only get a yard. 3rd and goal.
Here's the 8th play of the series.
LSU 2 for 2 on 3rd down. Can they make it 3 for 3? In goal formation. Touchdown, James Collins. LSU punches it in again.
So he punches him into the end zone for the 2nd time today.
This guy has great vision out of the backfield. Even if a hole isn't there, he's patient enough to wait for one to open, and then he hits it.
And he tacks on the extra point.
The PAT is good.
34-yard drive, and they add 7 points to the scoreboard.
Brad, I thought the offense did a really nice job of mixing up the play calls on that drive. I thought the defense was on its heels most of the drive because of the versatility of the offense.
The score now, 14-0. And he's taken down.
There's Ryan Abrams on the return for 32 yards.
Love to see the goose eggs up there for this defense. The way their offense is playing, this game is really
10 weeks for Mitchell on a foot fracture.
If they don't start eating into this deficit, they could easily fall out of the game.
There's the handoff. Powers is away for 8. Carl Thomas, the back on that play.
So it's 2nd down and about 2 yards to go.
LSU has Auburn and Tulane left on the schedule. Georgia Tech has Alabama and Georgia. Handoff, just enough for the first for Thomas. If Tech can beat Georgia in 2 weeks, because there's an option play. He's got room around the corner. Albert Thompson for 13. As I was saying, Georgia would need Tech to lose this game and clean old-fashioned hate. There's a long shot for this team. Race Russell lose a yard. We're about to run out of time here in the first.
We've played 1 quarter. LSU leads it 14-0. Welcome back here. We resume action now here in the 2nd quarter.
Option play. Quarterback will keep it, and he'll get 6 on the play.
From the 41-yard line, it's 3rd down.
3rd and 5 for the Yellow Jackets. Russ. Pressured and sacked. Derek Britt with the sack. And they'll have to send on the punting unit. 106-30 total offensive yards.
If he gets it where he wants, it can really change the field position of this football game.
Punts away,
Oh, excellent punt.
and it'll bounce into the end zone for a touchback.
So this one goes into the end zone, and that'll be a touchback. You think about the challenges these two teams are facing. On one side, you've got to find a way to keep building on your lead, and on the other side, you've got to find a way to get back in it.
Hand off to Crawford, and it'll be brought down for a loss. Deron Brandt with the TFL.
From their own 17-yard line, 2nd down.
Throwing this one short.
There's a strike complete. He's down.
5-yard gain for Dwight Carlson.
Third down.
Here's 3rd and 9. LSU perfect on third downs. Pressured, fumbled, sacked. And it'll be brought down after the fumble. It'll be 4th and 4. Gerald Wilson. It says he's sacked for a loss of 7, but it's only 4th and 4. They do rule it a fumble, and they'll punt it. Stops what you need. He's got blockers, and I'll get to about the 38.
It was a pretty one-sided first quarter, but I wouldn't be surprised if things changed in a big way before halftime.
Option play. This one goes off without a hitch as Trey Justice is down the sidelines. 25-yard gain.
Once he got past the line of scrimmage, you knew he'd be going a long way. That easily could have been 6.
There's the first big play for the offensive star here at Georgia Tech. And up to Albert Thompson for a yard. Oh, here's the keeper for Russ. Oh, what a hit. It'll be 3rd and 4 after the 6-yard gain.
So it's 3rd down now, and they're going to need about 4.
He'll throw it. No, he'll keep it. Oh, and the collarbone tackle. He won't go anywhere. Clinton Mosley with the tackle. And they'll go for the field goal. Kick is away. And Georgia Tech is on the board.
Oh, no question. This kid is just a solid kicker.
14-3, LSU. McNair looks ready to kick this one off. Killing from the 4.
Which away, he'll get about to 23.
The Tigers came out of the blocks and they were on fire, but they've really slowed down here.
Yeah, give credit to the defense that they're facing. Early in the game, as you said, it seems like this offense couldn't do anything wrong. But the last few series, this defense has done a much better job of controlling the big plays.
Tech's defense really needs to step up in this game. Robinson will be brought down for no gain. Gerald Wilson with the tackle.
Well, this corner isn't the biggest guy on the field, but he made a nice tackle there.
From their own 23-yard line. 2nd down.
Pressure coming. Russell throw it over the middle. 1st down. Wesley Kelly for 14 yards. First and 10. Hand off to Crawford. I get 6.
They're about 4 yards away here on 2nd down.
Second and 6. Option keeper for Crawford. He's brought down for a loss. The TFL once again to Deron Brandt. Robinson to throw. He's got a man wide open for a 1st down. Brian Neal.
First down, 10 to go. Ball on the 35-yard line.
Pressure coming. He'll throw it short on a screen. Crawford will lose a yard. And Robinson has not thrown an incompletion so far in this half. A minute 31 to go in the first half. Here's 2nd and 11. I'm up to 36. The handoff to Collins. Stiff arm hurdle. Still going. Down to the 20. Timeout LSU.
Right now, you can just really feel and sense the rhythm that this offense is in. Their ability to pick up first down is pushing this defense further and further down, back deep in their own territory.
Option play. Brought down for no gain. Timeout LSU.
It's the 9th play of the drive.
Shotgun man behind him. It'll be a keeper for the quarterback. Can only get a yard. 3rd and 9. LSU 4 for 5 on 3rd down. He'll roll left, throwing this one. Intercepted. What a catch. Gerald Wilson has to bend to get it, but he's got it.
Big interception, showing that character that their coaches wanted to see.
We've got a 1st and 10. Ball on the 13.
48 seconds ago. Georgia Tech gets it after the half. Oh, he has to leap over to try and catch it, but he drops it. Incomplete.
That makes it 2nd and 10.
Russ to throw. He's got a man. 1st down. Marco Bennett gets 13.
1st and 10. Ball on the 26-yard line.
Keeper for Russ. Long about 7. Timeout Georgia Tech. 28 seconds to go in the half. Russ. He'll throw it. Carl Thomas steps out of bounds for a loss of 1. 3rd and 4. Clock stops. Tech is 1 for 3 on 3rd down. Russ keeper. That's a 1st down and more to midfield. Timeout. Russ. He'll keep it and slides. They'll probably have time for one more play. Oh, he slips. Picks himself up. Not enough for the first. That'll be the end of the first half. LSU leading big 14-3 at halftime.
Glad to have you with us on the EA Sports NCAA Football 14 halftime show presented by Nissan. Innovation that excites. Bruce Davis, Dave Pollock here in the studio as always. So lend a little perspective to what just went down in the first 30 minutes. We have a 2-score game at the break. No surprise so far in terms of what the scoreboard says, but maybe a little surprising for some of the players on this team who sort of relish in that underdog role and said, bring this team to their knees. You're going to talk like that, you got to walk that aisle, baby. You got to walk that aisle.
You better back it up. And right now, they're the team that's been
Georgia Tech.
And they better stand up a lot because it's been
the option offense takes a while to get going.
When you start chirping a little bit, I think that you put the other team.
And it definitely relies on their defense. They did get a big stop. They got 2 big stops so far. But their offense has yet to be able to respond.
Just about set to start the second half. What are you looking for?
I'm looking to see which team has that decided schematical advantage.
If they can find it, they'll blow holes 3 or 4 axe handles wide.
As we're ready for the second half, Georgia Tech gets it back. Hopefully their offense can get something else going on. They'll start at their own 25.
There's got to be some sense of urgency to this offense right now. They don't have the luxury of wasting drives if they want to get back in the game.
There's the run to Mark Bowling for 8 yards.
It's second down, and they're about 2 yards away from the sticks.
2nd and 2. That's enough for the first down and more. He's still going. 10 yards for Mark Bowling. On 1st and 10, the option play. Gets it to Trey Justice. And he'll get a yard.
From their own 45-yard line. Second down.
Running the option once again. Russell, keep it. He's got a lane.
He makes his way to about the 38. So
Inside the 40-yard line.
The quarterback made a very good decision here not to pitch. He saw a break in the defense and just did it for a big game.
Option play once again. He'll keep it. First down.
You know that saying, get your keys out because we're on a drive. This offense right now is on a drive. And this is the third first down. They're doing just about anything they want.
The key to an option offense is attrition, wearing out a defense. 5-yard gain for Carl Thomas. And Georgia Tech might be doing just that.
from the 23-yard line.
The LSU defense was lights out to start. However, for the Rambling Wreck, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Russell gets tripped up for a gain of 1. 3rd and 4. Ball to 17. Option play, it's enough for the first. Probably could have pitched for more, but he got what he needed. I don't remember Georgia Tech's mascot's name, but that was a good play for him. Option play, he'll be brought down for not a loss, but no gain. Matt Hines will be credited with a TFL. It'll be 2nd and 10. Option play once again, and they saw right through it. Eddie Bain with the TFL.
And so it's another third down upcoming here.
Third and long. Throwing this one over the middle for the end zone. Touchdown, Albert Thompson. Kept his heels in bounds and fell back. Plenty of room there. Touchdown. Georgia Tech, and they're within 4. And the low frame rate band really enjoying this one. A methodical drive. Just what the doctor ordered here at Georgia Tech. They pushed out a 28. Last time LSU had a ball, there was an interception. Hopefully they have better luck this time.
Second down, and they're going to need about 3 yards to pick up the first down.
2nd and 3 from the 35. Quarterback keeper. Breaking tackles, he'll get to about the 41. Pressured for a loss. Loss to 2, brought down by Alex Stevenson.
From their own 39-yard line, it's second down.
Hand off Robinson. Not enough for the first. It'll be 3rd and 1. That was the handoff to James Collins. And the crowd's loving it. 50-yard line is where the ball's at. That's going to be just enough for the first.
Makes it to the 48-yard line. That's good for a gain of 1 yard. That makes it first and 10. First and 10. Ball on the 48.
Quarterback keeps it.
They go to the left for
2 people bring him down, but not after a gain of 6.
LSU is up by 4.
Hand off to Jesse Crawford,
Here they go on the draw and the lose yard.
and they'll have nothing to gain. Lewis Sanders brings him down 3rd and 4.
Play of the drive.
Crowd's loud once again. Throwing this one over the middle. It's caught.
He's hit immediately.
Taking to the 30, Bryant Neal.
The defense gambled a bit here, came with the blitz, and the quarterback showed tremendous poise by making a good read and delivering a nice ball to the open man.
From the 31-yard line. First down.
Hand off to Crawford.
They cut the middle
That'll
for
get
a
6.
nice run.
That'll make it 2nd and 6 after the 4-yard gain.
That makes it 2nd and 6. And this is the 10th play of the drive.
Robinson to throw it for the end zone. Out of bounds.
Oh, incomplete.
3rd and 6. LSU now 6 of 8 on 3rd down. Robinson to throw. He's got a man
Open field.
inside the 10, first down. Ten seconds to go in the 3rd.
And this is the 13th play of this drive.
We're likely going to the 4th.
They're in the red zone, but that doesn't necessarily mean points. Last time they got intercepted.
They'll run it, and that'll be the end of the 3rd quarter.
Brilliant work
14-10 the score.
through 3 quarters of play. Who can open it up in the 4th quarter? Whoever does has got a great chance to win. LSU leads it 14-10. Welcome back to the action here as we resume play here in quarter number 4. LSU is up 4.
And off to Collins. That's enough for the touchdown, LSU. James Collins.
Well, the offense certainly did their job. They've extended their lead here in the 4th quarter. And now they look at their defensive counterparts and say, hey, guys, it's your turn. And he tacks on the extra point. Looks like they're ready for the kick. He's to the 20. He gets out to about the 22-yard line. So you wonder what kind of excitement we'll see this time around.
Russ pitch to Justice.
Makes it to the 22-yard line.
Nothing.
That makes it 2nd and 10. Second down and 10 to go. Ball on the 22-yard line.
Low scoring affair that's likely due to the rain. Pitch to Trey. And again, that'll be a loss of 2. Throwing this one deep, out of bounds.
Well, the defense did what they had to do.
4th and 11, and they're going to punt it. Down 2 scores, 5 minutes to go. A Georgia Tech team that has admitted defeat.
He's tackled at the 44-yard line. Both teams are well aware that a score on this drive is going to create an almost insurmountable lead. This defense has really got to step it up and make a stop. Nice run, and he's brought down.
Crawford will get 5.
From their own 48-yard line. 2nd down.
Handoff. He breaks free to the 35. And off to Crawford for 3. They're now in clock killing mode.
From the 32-yard line. 2nd down.
Playing this one. Short of the first, Dwight Carlson gets 6. Robinson with plenty of time. He'll throw this one short. Intercepted. To the 30. Ryan Abrams with the pick.
He's made some really careless throws. But you can also give credit to the defense for being able to clean up the mess and create the turnover.
Well below both teams' offensive averages. The rain definitely a factor. There's a handoff, a big run for Carl Thomas. Option play, the quarterback keeps it. They'll get 2 yards. 3:25 to go.
That makes it 2nd and 8. From their own 49-yard line. 2nd down.
Russ throwing over the middle. It's caught. 1st down to Marco Bennett. Tick, 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 tick. Just over 3 seconds, 3 minutes to go. Not 3 seconds. 3 minutes and 6 seconds. Quarterback keeper. There's a 1st down. Just under 3 minutes. Batted down by Marcus Lloyd.
He's very lucky that ball was only tipped.
2nd down, 10 to go. Ball on the 23-yard line.
Surveying the field. He's going to run it.
He's tackled around the 17-yard line.
And he'll get a gain about 7.
This is the 8th play of this drive.
You can't waste time. You got to run. You gotta go. You gotta hurry up. 4 for 7 on third down. Quarterback's gonna keep it. It's enough for the first, but ball's loose. Still loose. Picked up by LSU. Tech was on the doorstep of the goal line, and it's fumbled away.
Handling the ball. And a great awareness by the defense to jump on.
The offense will take the field, hoping for a better result than their last drive.
One general rule of any game is to hold on to the ball. If you're in the negative in the turnover department, your chances of winning decrease exponentially.
Nothing for Crawford. Timeout, Georgia Tech.
It's 2nd and 10. Ball on the 14-yard line.
LSU in clock running mode. Timeout again after the 1 yard gain.
They'll take their second time out of it.
And they'll take timeout again. This is the optimal scenario for Georgia Tech. They're out of timeouts, but they get the 3 and out. Kirkpatrick will punt it.
He really got a hold of that one. He's to the 40.
I think it's about the 46. 42, pardon me. You'll have just over 2 minutes to try and make this a game.
The first rule on offense is to take care of the football. These guys
Russ.
need to remember that on
Pressure, he'll throw on one leg, incomplete.
Second down, 10 yards.
159.
Ball on the 42-yard line. Less than 2 minutes in the fourth quarter.
It's
Pressure, sacked.
a big-time effort sack by the defensive end. I want to also give some credit to the coverage downfield. The end never gave up on the play, but because the quarterback didn't have anywhere to go with the football, it gave the defensive end enough time to eventually chase the quarterback down for that sack.
Throwing this one over the middle. In coverage, caught. Max Bonner with 31 yards on the reception. Biggest offensive play all day for Georgia Tech. Russ throwing this one. He's got a man on the sideline. Just short of the end zone. Max Bonner, 33 yards. They will get the chance to punch it in, but then they have to get an onside kick afterwards.
Now it's 1st and goal, and the defense trying to regroup after giving up the big pass. Based on their last visit to the red zone, I'd expect them to take better care of the ball this time around.
Option play. They got the touchdown. Albert Thompson. Georgia Tech. Can get this game within 4. And they're going to go for 2.
So the offense will stay on the field and attempt the 2-point conversion.
Option play. Russell get it. And the game is within a field goal. But you have to get the onside. LSU has all their timeouts. LSU is going to return the onside kick, and they do. Brian Neal gets nothing, and they can run out the clock.
Here we are late in the fourth quarter, and this is what this game has come down to. Every possession is going to count, and this could be the one right here. A little over a minute in the game. And they get nice yardage on that run.
2nd and 3.
They need about 3 yards to get the first here on 2nd down.
Crawford stopped. They can just knee the clock here. As they can run it out. LSU. And they'll run it one more time. LSU with the upset win. They take down Georgia Tech in Atlanta.
And this one comes to an end. Our final count in this game.
And these two teams will meet again at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They'll meet each other again in Georgia at the Georgia Dome, where they'll be playing for an SEC championship. Georgia Tech, definitely going to remember today. 21-18 the final score. Just a quick look at game stats. On passing, Maurice Russ was 8 for 12 for 121 yards and a touchdown. Rashad Robinson had no touchdowns but 2 picks and was 15 for 18. On rushing, Maurice Russ had 82 yards. Albert Thompson had 17. Trey Justice had 24. Carl Thomas had 34. And Mark Bowling had 18. Jesse Crawford had 77 on the day, and James Collins ended up having 45. On receiving, the main man for this offense was Wesley Kelly, who had 47 yards, 39 for Brian Neal, 27 for Dwight Carson, 27 as well for Jay Mitchell, who will be out for the rest of the year with a fracture in his foot. Max Bonner had 64 receiving yards, which included 2 30-yarders on that final drive. Marco Bennett had 34. Defensively, 7 tackles for Demetrius Davis and Deron Brandt and Rick Rogers for Georgia Tech. 2 TFLs for Stevenson, Brandt, and 1 for Abrams, Davis, Morse, Wade, and Sanders. At 8 tackles for Marcus Lloyd, 6 for Brandon Anderson, and 5 for Clint Mosley. I'll actually return to Georgia Tech's stats in a second because there's something I want to check out. 2 TFLs for Derek Britt, 1 for Anderson, Bain, Hines, and Richards. 2 sacks, 1 for Britt and 1 for Richards. No picks for LSU. On defense, the 1 sack was Demetrius Davis, and 2 picks, Gerald Wilson and Ryan Abrams. And we had the 48-yarder for Travis Carpenter on the field goal. We'll look at team stats. 21-18, the final score. Completely even in first downs. Total offense, Georgia Tech edged it out barely at the end. They led in rushing yards. They were blown out in passing yards, though, as well as on third down. They did get the 2-point conversion. They were only 66% in the red zone. 2 turnovers each. Tech fumbled the ball twice. LSU had 2 picks. And LSU ended up leading time of possession. So that wraps up all that. As we'll exit out, Tech will definitely internalize this game. They have 2 more on the schedule that they most likely should be able to win against Alabama and Georgia. LSU has Auburn and Tulane to wrap up the schedule. So both these teams will likely ride into LSU will likely ride into Atlanta with with no losses, as will Georgia Tech. Or Georgia Tech, rather, will walk in with one loss in Atlanta. We'll have to see if they can play spoiler or not. Completely even in first downs. LSU led passing, Georgia Tech led rushing. Georgia Tech ended up leading in total yardage, I believe. 2 turnovers each. LSU had leading time possession. The lead player of the game ended up being for each team. Albert Thompson had 4 carries for 17 yards, a touchdown, as well as a receiving touchdown. Demetrius Davis had 7 tackles, a TFL, a sack, and a forced fumble. James Collins had 7 carries for 45 yards and 3 touchdowns. Justin White had 2 tackles and a fumble recovery. And that will wrap us up here tonight. Don't forget to tune into tomorrow's episode of 2KU Weekly, where we'll talk about everything that happened elsewhere in this week. We'll also be revealing awards finalists, so don't forget to stay tuned for that. I'm going to thank you all for watching. See you on Sunday. You guys have a great week.